The Better Business Bureau is warning people about a new scam called ghost tapping.
A warning. The Better Business Bureau is seeing more scams targeting tap-to-pay users.
It's a method where hackers are using to steal your financial information.
Every time you use this, think about it. Tapping to pay is exploding in popularity. It's so easy to do that some of us are not paying much attention and not even carrying a wallet, so we don't know how much we're even spending or where. And now, according to the Better Business Bureau, they are getting complaints about something called ghost tapping. It's a form of fraud that exploits the tap-to-pay technology in order to steal money from you.
If a stranger bumps into you in public, check your bank notifications immediately. This scam is spreading fast. In 2025, more than $3 billion disappeared through contactless payment scams, not through brute force hacking, not through stolen databases, but through everyday taps that look legitimate to banks, merchants, and payment networks. Most victims never noticed the moment it happened. No decline, no alert, no obvious mistakes, just a normal transaction followed by confusion days later. Today, we're breaking down 5 tap-to-pay scams operating right now. Each one uses a different weakness. Each one escalates the damage. And by the end, you'll understand why contactless payments have quietly become one of the most exploited systems in modern finance. Because these scams don't feel like crimes, they feel like convenience. Scam number 5, the QR code trap. You're at a restaurant. The meal is over. The check arrives with a QR code printed neatly at the bottom. Scan to pay. It feels modern, efficient, normal. You don't ask questions because no one else is. You open your camera. The code scans instantly. You enter your card details, confirm the amount, and move on. Except the restaurant never received your payment. That QR code wasn't printed by the business. It was a sticker placed directly over the original, sometimes earlier that day, sometimes minutes before you sit down. Scammers target locations where people are distracted and transactions are fast. Restaurants during peak hours, parking meters, street vendors, anywhere staff won't notice a small change and customers won't stop to inspect. The fake QR codes are printed to be nearly identical, same size, same alignment, same contrast, placed carefully so they blend into the environment. Unless you physically touch it, you wouldn't know. Here's the critical detail most people don't understand. QR codes don't authenticate ownership. They don't verify who receives the payment. They don't confirm legitimacy. They simply redirect. That page you trusted wasn't a payment processor. It was a data collection point. When you entered your information, you handed over your card number, CVV, billing address, and device fingerprint. In many cases, those details are transmitted immediately and stored remotely. Federal warnings issued in early 2025 showed QR-based payment fraud increasing by more than 300% in a single year. And once your information is captured, it rarely stays with one criminal. It's sold, sometimes within hours, sometimes internationally, often to multiple buyers at once. That's why victims frequently report seeing charges appear across different states or even different countries within the same day. The fraud doesn't unfold slowly, it fans outward. Psychologically, this scam works because it exploits context trust. You trust the restaurant, so you trust the code. Your brain assumes someone else vetted it for you. The environment lowers your guard. That's the trap. The prevention is simple, but it requires friction. Before scanning any QR code, inspect it physically. Run your finger across it. If it's raised, misaligned, or looks layered over another surface, don't scan. Ask for a physical terminal, or pay another way. A few seconds of hesitation can prevent months of damage. And if this scam feels subtle, understand this. The next one doesn't rely on misdirection. It relies on obedience. Scam number 4, the double tap drain. You're at a gas station or a small convenience store, the kind of place you've visited 100 times. The routine is familiar enough that your mind is already moving on before the transaction finishes. You tap your card, the terminal beeps, then the cashier pauses. It didn't go through. Try again. You glance at the screen. It shows an error message. Maybe transaction failed. Maybe please retry. There's a line forming behind you. You don't want to argue, you don't want to slow things down. So you tap again. This time the screen says approved. You take your receipt and leave. What you don't know is that the first transaction went through perfectly. The error message was never real. Consumer protection reports from the last few years have documented millions of dollars lost to this exact setup. In some cases, the payment terminal itself is modified to display a fake error after a successful transaction. In other cases, the cashier is trained to say the same line every time. It didn't go through. Try again. The result is always the same. 2 legitimate authorizations, 2 approved transactions, 2 charges tied directly to your card. By the time you notice the duplicate charge, days may have passed. When you contact your bank, they pull the records. Both transactions show as approved. Both were authorized by a tap. Both occurred seconds apart at the same location. From the bank's perspective, nothing illegal happened. And that's the genius of this scam. There's no malware for them to point to, no hacked account, no stolen credentials, just you, authorizing payment twice. Banks often deny these disputes because technically you approved both transactions. Without video evidence, witnesses, or proof that the terminal malfunctioned, the burden of proof falls entirely on you. This scam works because it exploits authority and social pressure. The cashier controls the situation. You're conditioned to follow instructions, especially when the request sounds reasonable and the environment feels routine. Most people don't question a retry. That instinct is exactly what the scam feeds on. Some operations are small, with cashiers pocketing the difference. Others are more organized, with terminal owners and staff splitting the extra charges across hundreds of customers per day. The amounts are usually kept low enough that many people never bother disputing them. $10 here, $20 there, just enough to accumulate quietly. The prevention requires slowing down. Always wait for the terminal to fully reset before tapping again. If a cashier says the payment failed, ask to see the screen clearly. Ask for a receipt from the first attempt. Open your banking app and check whether the transaction is already posted. If the cashier rushes you or avoids showing the screen, stop the transaction entirely. Because once you walk away, the system assumes the story is finished. And if this scam doubled your charge, understand this. The next one doesn't rely on a second tap. It changes the amount without you noticing at all. Scam number 3. The amount switcher. This one is quiet, almost invisible. You're buying something small, coffee, snacks, a quick stop that barely registers as an expense. The cashier tells you the total. You glance at the terminal just long enough to confirm it sounds right. For a fraction of a second, the number on the screen matches what you expect. You tap your card. Approved. You grab your receipt and leave. Everything about the interaction feels normal, except the amount you saw wasn't the amount that was processed. Cybersecurity analysts have confirmed the spread of modified point-of-sale terminals capable of altering transaction values after the tap, but before authorization completes. The trick happens in a narrow window, after your card communicates with the terminal, but before the final charge is locked in. The terminal briefly displays the correct amount, then the software shifts the decimal point. $5 becomes 50, 8 becomes 80, 10 becomes 100. The receipt often still shows the smaller amount. Your memory aligns with what you think you saw. The entire experience reinforces itself as legitimate, but your bank statement tells a different story. When you notice the discrepancy and dispute it, the merchant insists the charge was authorized. The payment processor confirms a valid tap for the higher amount. The bank sees no technical malfunction. From their perspective, the system worked exactly as designed. The lie didn't happen in the transaction record. It happened in the moment you trusted the screen. This scam exploits perceptual trust. Humans believe displays, especially when interactions are fast and routine. Your brain fills in continuity where none exists. It assumes the number you saw before tapping is the number that processed. That assumption is the vulnerability. What makes this scam especially damaging is how hard it is to prove after the fact. Once you leave the location, there's no evidence that the terminal displayed anything different, no record of the brief amount shown before the tap, just a completed transaction tied to your authorization. Small businesses with older or poorly secured terminals are most often affected, but victims have reported this happening everywhere, from cafes to corner stores to roadside vendors. The prevention depends on immediacy. Always check your transaction notification the moment it arrives, not later, not when you get home, immediately. If the amount doesn't match, stop what you're doing. Go back to the counter, show the cashier your phone, demand a reversal on the spot. Once you walk away, your leverage disappears, because after that point, you're not arguing with a person, you're arguing with a system. And if this scam feels unsettling, understand why. It doesn't require cooperation, it doesn't require distraction, it doesn't even require a second tap, it only requires trust. And the next scam doesn't even require that. It works while you're sitting still. Scam number 2, the relay attack. This one breaks the last assumption most people cling to, that if your card never leaves your pocket, you're safe. You're sitting in a coffee shop. Your card is inside your wallet, zipped in a bag or jacket. You haven't touched it in 20 minutes. Your phone is on the table. You're scrolling, waiting, killing time. Then your phone vibrates. Transaction approved. At first you don't panic. You assume it's delayed. Maybe something from earlier finally posted. But the merchant name doesn't fit. The location is nearby, but not where you're sitting. You didn't stand up. You didn't tap. You didn't pay for anything. This is a relay attack. Here's how it works. 2 criminals operate together. One positions themselves close to you, standing behind you in line. Sitting beside you, brushing past in a crowd. Hidden inside a backpack or jacket is a portable NFC reader. These devices can read contactless cards through clothing and wallets from several inches away. The second criminal is somewhere else entirely. At a real store, at a real payment terminal. The moment your card signal is captured, It's transmitted instantly to the second device. That device relays the signal to the terminal as if your card were physically present. Your card believes it's being tapped. The terminal believes a card is there. The bank sees a normal, authorized transaction. The entire exchange takes less than 2 seconds. Security researchers publicly demonstrated this attack using off-the-shelf components costing a few $100s. No bank breach, no advanced hacking, just timing, proximity, and coordination. And here's the part that makes this devastating. To your bank, the transaction looks completely legitimate. The merchant received payment. The authorization checks out. Security cameras show someone tapping a card, just not you. By the time you notice the charge, the scammer has already walked out with merchandise. There's no fake website to shut down, no compromised terminal to inspect, no obvious point of failure. You're left trying to prove something didn't happen. If the card isn't frozen quickly, the scam escalates. The same setup can be used again later that day, sometimes from a different location entirely. That's why some victims wake up to multiple charges spread across hours. This scam exploits invisibility. There is no decision point where caution helps you, no moment where slowing down changes the outcome. It happens entirely outside your awareness. The only defenses are preventive and reactive. RFID blocking wallets or sleeves prevent unauthorized NFC reads. Transaction alerts give you a narrow window to respond. The moment you see a charge you don't recognize, freeze your card immediately. Don't wait to confirm. Don't assume it's a glitch. Seconds matter, because if you don't stop it fast, the next scam doesn't need proximity at all. It operates at scale. Scam number 1. The Ghost Terminal Network. This is the most dangerous tap-to-pay scam operating right now. Not because it's clever, but because you can do everything right and still lose. You walk into a legitimate store, a national chain, a grocery store, a pharmacy, security cameras overhead, employees behind the counter, corporate branding everywhere. You tap your card, the terminal approves, the receipt prints. You leave. Nothing feels wrong, but that terminal isn't acting alone. Behind the scenes, it's connected to a hidden network of compromised payment devices, ghost terminals, fake POS systems operating in parallel with real ones. Some are in warehouses, some are in abandoned storefronts, some are hidden in back rooms of legitimate businesses whose owners have no idea they're part of the network. Your single tap didn't authorize one transaction. It triggered many. Here's how these networks work. Criminal groups compromise payment terminals at scale, sometimes through outdated software, sometimes through stolen service credentials, sometimes by physically swapping internal components while leaving the exterior untouched. The terminal still functions normally. The merchant still gets paid. Nothing breaks. But every tap is mirrored. The moment your card data passes through, it's copied and distributed across the network. Dozens of ghost terminals begin processing charges simultaneously. Not large charges, small ones. $8 at a gas station in one state, $12 at a retail store somewhere else, $23 at a fast food chain miles away. Each charge is intentionally kept below fraud detection thresholds. Different merchants, different locations, different categories, all designed to look like normal daily spending. From the bank's perspective, it looks like life. Interpol and law enforcement investigations in late 2024 dismantled several ghost terminal networks processing hundreds of millions of dollars in fraudulent tap-to-pay transactions. And those were only the ones discovered. These networks operate like financial laundering systems. Charges are spread out, rotated, and timed to avoid triggering alarms. By the time one transaction is questioned, dozens more have already cleared. What makes this scam so devastating is that there's nothing for you to inspect. The terminal is real. The store is real. The transaction is real. The compromise happens after your tap. And once your card data enters the network, stopping the damage becomes a race against time. Every minute you wait allows more transactions to process, more locations, more merchants, more complexity. This scam exploits false security. You trust the brand. You trust the environment. You trust the system itself. And that trust is exactly what the attackers rely on. The only effective defense is vigilance after the fact. Check your account daily. Enable real-time alerts for every transaction, not just large ones. The moment you see a charge you don't recognize, freeze the card immediately. Don't wait to confirm. Don't assume it's a glitch. One unauthorized charge often means many more are already in motion. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Tap to Pay wasn't designed for security. It was designed for speed. And speed removes friction. Friction is where humans notice things. Instincts kick in and where scams fail. Scammers understand that better than anyone. They don't need to break encryption. They don't need to hack banks. They just need you to trust the moment. And most of us do. If even one of these scenarios felt uncomfortably familiar, that's not paranoia, that's awareness. These scams evolve constantly, and attention is often the only advantage people ever get.